Alright, I wanted to do a quick video on the Space Force, also the Deep State. The Deep State has a fully operational space fleet ready to go. I'm going to talk about that. I'm going to talk about our Space Force. If you haven't heard, we've started a United States Space Force. And it's like the Air Force, but it's the Space Force. And I'm going to talk about Wernher Von Braun and the Space Force and the Deep State or the shadow government. Those three things. That's what this video is going to be about. Now you're asking, what's all that? Well, the main gist of this video is the Deep State or the shadow government supposedly has an operational space fleet right now that can fly anywhere they want, basically. And I'm going to read about that. But first, I wanted to talk about two other things. We are recently announced, and we are building a space force like the Air Force. Now, the Space Force is going to, of course, it's going to cost trillions of dollars. I mean, it's incredible. And what is the United States government? Our military-industrial complex, Eisenhower warned us about the military-industrial complex taking over everything. Basically, the shadow government is using the military-industrial complex. They're almost in bed with each other. I don't think they're one and the same, but they are very tightly knit, tightly grouped together, okay? Linked. Tightly, that's the word I'm looking for. They're tightly linked. Now, let's go back in time. World War II. Before World War II, Wernher Von Braun was probably the Earth's first rocket scientist. He was the one that developed the V1, the V2 rockets, and he also helped develop the jet airplane that the German World War II government had. And these rockets went over to England. So, why am I bringing up Wernher Von Braun? Well, because he warned us. On his deathbed, basically, he warned us about the industrial complex. The military-industrial complex needs a boogeyman so they can justify, or a war, so they can justify spending their trillions of dollars. Now, we had a bad, okay, going back to World War I, I don't know what happened there. The bankers wanted a war, they got it. The Rothschilds started that because they wanted to make money. World War II, basically, the United States was in fact, most of the world was in a bad depression. What gets you out of a depression quickly is a war. So, they knew Japan was going to bomb us. They let it happen to get all the people riled up for war. And it worked. So we had World War II. But getting back to Von Braun, he warned us on his deathbed. He warned us that the boogeyman of the future is going to be aliens. UFOs, aliens from another planet. He said that they're going to tell us, they're going to tell the common people that, oh, there's going to be aliens that are going to invade us, so we need to build a space force. And it came true. Guess what? We're building a space force. So what Wernher Von Braun warned us about is happening right now. And I'm going to find it here. I'm going to give you a quick background on Wernher Von Braun. Dr. Wernher Von Braun was a Nazi rocket scientist in the secret spacecraft development plant at Piemonte during World War II. Through Operation Paperclip, he was recruited as a high-level NASA astronomical engineer during the 1960s and early 70s. One of von Braun's mentors, a founding father of rocketry and aeronautics, Herman Oberth, said, "It is my thesis that flying saucers are real and that they are spaceships from another solar system. I think that they possibly are manned by intelligent observers who are members of a race that may have been investigating our Earth for centuries." Do I believe there's UFOs out there and these are extraterrestrial beings from another planet? Absolutely. Could be from another dimension too, or both. Here's some more about that. Let's see. All right. Below is an excerpt from a video interview of Carol Rosin speaking about her mentor, Dr. Wernher Von Braun, and what she said. She was one of his closest confidants and students. And on his deathbed, he did the following. This is what she says. "I met the late Dr. Wernher Von Braun in early 1974. At that time, Von Braun was dying of cancer. But he assured me that he would live a few more years in order to tell me about the game that was being played. That game being the effort to weaponize space, to control Earth from space and space itself. What was the most interesting to me was a repetitive sentence that he said to me over and over again. That was the strategy that was being used to educate the public and decision makers, and the scare tactics, the spin that was being put on as justification for our advanced weapons systems, how we identify an enemy. The enemy at first," Von Braun said, "to justify our space-based weapons system. First, the Russians are going to be considered the enemy. Yep, that happened, our Cold War. Then terrorists would be identified. Yep, now remember, this is 1974. First he said the Russians was obvious. Then he said terrorists, that came to be. Then he said, then we are going to identify third world crazies." Okay, that would be, Bin Laden or whatever. He came, that came true. The next enemy was asteroids. And I just read something where NASA in 2020 is going to try to deflect a asteroid. So that came true. And against asteroids, we're going to build space-based weapons. So that came true because they're working on that now. And the last one of all, the top thing that they're going to make up to justify spending trillions of dollars are aliens, extraterrestrials. That's the final card. And over during the 4 years that I knew him and was giving speeches for him, he would bring up that last card. And remember, Carol, the last card is the alien card. We're going to have to build space-based weapons against aliens. And all of it, he said, is a lie. I'm going to read that again. The last thing we do to justify spending trillions of dollars is to tell everyone that we have an alien threat, extraterrestrials, and we have to build space-based weapons against them. And it's a lie. And that's happening now. We just announced the Space Force. They're starting it right now. That should be full bore soon. What is it, 2019? I think it's all set to open up next year. They're already deep into it. All right. Powerful groups that control governments will use the extraterrestrial phenomenon to deceive the masses. And it's all coming true. So Wernher von Braun was obviously a genius. Yeah, he was German. Yep, he was a bad guy against us in the war, but he was just a scientist. He just did, he worked for the country he lived in. He came here and he helped us with the space race, which I don't believe is real either. So that's the story there. Now let's go on to the main story. Well, first I'll just say the Space Force, that's going. 80% of space qualified personnel reside in the Air Force. All right, so they're going to build that up. There's a huge website here all about the Space Force and what they're going to do. Who supports the Space Force? There are many who disagree with the opponents of a United States Space Force, and one of the most significant voices supporting it is a unique entity, is the National Aeronautics and Space Administration Administrator. So of course he does, because they're all going to work together to spend the trillions and trillions of dollars. Now I'm going to throw something out there. Okay, should we worry about extraterrestrials and coming to attack us? Look at Hollywood. We've got 4th of July movie, all those movies. There's been countless movies of space aliens attacking us. And I'm going to tell you something right now. Don't worry about that. Because if these people have the capability to build craft, to fly here light years and light years away, they could easily wipe us off the planet at any time they wanted with their advanced ships and weaponry. Are you kidding? We wouldn't have a chance. Right now, on our evolutionary, our technological evolution, even if we have advanced shadow government, deep state craft, doesn't matter. Extraterrestrials are millions of years ahead of us. If they wanted to wipe us out, they could. And there is nothing anyone can do about it. Look at just what we've seen with UFOs. They sweep it under the rug. Anything happens, they just, look at Roswell, New Mexico. Oh, nothing happened. It was a weather balloon. Everyone knows it wasn't a weather balloon. Oh, but a lot of people would come forward if it was really up. They have. Thousands of people have come forward that were there and told their story before they died, and they all match up. There was a crash in 1947, an extraterrestrial craft with beings. There was a crash. Lots of people saw it. Lots of people have came forward, and you should believe them because all the stories match. If you don't believe that, your head's in the sand. Even the United States Army came forward and said, we've recovered a craft, a flying saucer. The next day, oh, sorry, we made a mistake. Yeah, well, they just covered it up. They told the truth at first. All right, going back. All right, so that's my feeling on all that. Now, what's going on with this? There's a story on ancient-code.com. That's where I found it. Okay, that's my source. Ancient-code.com. And it says, brace yourself. The U.S. Navy and NASA have a fully operational space fleet. And what they're trying to say is the shadow government or the deep state has a fully operational space fleet. Numerous claims have been made in recent years that support the result of one of the biggest security breaches in the history of the U.S. military. According to reports, the U.S. Navy and NASA have a fully operational space fleet. Interestingly, these accusations are backed up by a highly ranking individuals such as Senator Daniel K. Inouye, who said, there exists a shadowy government with its own Air Force, its own Navy, its own fundraising mechanism, and the ability to pursue its own ideas of the national interest, free from all checks and balances and free from the law itself. And this is the shadow government or the deep state. They say the truth is out there, but where is it? And how can we distinguish what's important and what's not when it comes to alien life, UFOs, and extraterrestrial technology? Now remember, there's beings in the universe other than ourselves. This is obvious. But where are they from? Are they from another planet, from another solar system, from another galaxy? They could be. Are they from another dimension? They could be. A parallel dimension to ours, where they could just pop in and pop out? Could be. Could be both. I'd say they're both. So let's see. The truth is that in today's society, a thin line divides what is real and what is not. In the last few years, numerous whistleblowers have come forward saying that governments around the globe have access to extremely advanced technology. In other words, alien technology. And of course, if we reversed engineered craft that we've recovered from Roswell and other craft, of course we have that technology. One of the biggest quotes regarding alien life and their presence comes from Paul Hellyer, former Canadian Defense Minister and the man responsible for combining the Canadian Air Force, Army, and Navy into one united force, known as the Canadian Forces. He said, "Decades ago, visitors from other planets warned us about where we were headed and offered to help. But instead, as an aside, this happened with Eisenhower. They met with Eisenhower. You can look that up. But instead, we, or at least some of us, interpreted their visits as a threat and decided to shoot first and ask questions later. Trillions, and I mean thousands of billions of dollars, have been spent on projects about which both the Congress and the Commander-in-Chief have been kept deliberately in the dark." All right, he's not the only one. Brian O'Leary, former NASA astronaut and Princeton physics professor, said, "There is abundant evidence that we are being contacted, that civilizations have been monitoring us for a very long time, that their appearance is bizarre from any type of traditional materialistic Western point of view, that these visitors use the technologies of consciousness. They use toroids, they use rotating magnetic disks for the propulsion systems that seem to be a common denominator of the UFO phenomena." Well, everyone knows that there is a thing called the ether, that it's a power, it's homogeneous power that surrounds us in the universe. It surrounds everything. And this power is immense. It's astronomical, it's off the chart. But homogeneous means it goes in all directions. How do you use power? You need to make it go one direction. And quite a few inventors have figured it out, but it's suppressed. And it's been suppressed for a reason. If someone could figure out how to harness this power, and this person or group were evil, they could blow the world up. It's simple as that. So I do understand why some of this technology needs to be suppressed. So I'm torn there. On one side, I would think you could control it in a way where you could use it and not blow each other up, but it gets in the hands of somebody bad and they can blow everything up. So I'm torn. I don't know what to think on that. If you don't believe me, look up Moray. Look up the guy named Moray, Morray. He figured it out. He had a box that could run 15 light bulbs, electric irons, and it was just a box, and it had a antenna and a ground. That was it. He did it, so it's been done. But of course, it was destroyed. All right, let's see. Gordon Cooper, former NASA astronaut and aeronautical engineer and test pilot, one of the 7 original astronauts, said, "In my opinion, I think they were worried that it would panic the public if they knew someone had vehicles with this kind of performance. So they started telling lies about it. When I think they had to cover another lie, tell another lie to cover their first lie. Now they don't know how to get out of it. It's going to be so embarrassing to admit that all these administrations have told a lot of untruths. There are a number of extraterrestrial vehicles out there cruising around. So, I mean, once in a while, people will tell the truth, but no one will listen, and the lame stream media will never report on any of this because they're controlled by the deep state. All media is controlled by the deep state, except for what you're looking at right here. People on YouTube. This is where you'll get real information. All right, so curiously, in addition to everything I've just read, one of the most controversial whistleblowers is definitely Gary McKinnon, a man that somehow supposedly hacked the Pentagon's most secretive files. After the security breach, McKinnon made several extraordinary claims, speaking about what he encountered in the computers in the top secret military database. Apparently, the U.S. Navy and NASA have a fully operational space fleet. And this would be the dark government, the deep state. McKinnon said that one of the most unusual files he came across was an Excel spreadsheet that listed information of non-terrestrial officers. However, as mentioned, which would mean alien officers working with us. However, as mentioned numerous times, what McKinnon said could be interpreted in a number of different ways. However, many whistleblowers and UFO researchers agree that one thing is certain. These officers were not based on planet Earth. In addition to the curious list, McKinnon found listings for a secret space fleet that was composed of 10 warships, all prefixed with the title USS. McKinnon believes that the secret space fleet is operated by the government of the United States. It would be the secret government or deep state. And this is what he said. I found an Excel spreadsheet which said non-terrestrial officers. And I thought, oh my God, that's incredible. While many people have questioned the authenticity of McKinnon's claims, the truth is that we only have to look at what other people have said in the past to get a bigger picture of what's going on. Curiously, Senator Daniel Inouye said there is a secret government. I just read that. This is a former Chief of Defense Staff, 5-star Admiral of the Royal Navy, Chairman of the NATO Military Committee, is quoted as saying, "There are objects in our atmosphere which are technically miles in advance of anything we can deploy, that we have no means of stopping them coming here. And there is a serious possibility that we are being visited and have been visited for many years by people from outer space, from other civilizations, that it behooves us, in case some of these people in the future or now should turn hostile, to find out who they are, where they come from, and what they want. This should be the subject of rigorous scientific investigation and not the subject of rubbishing by tabloid newspapers." So he is saying, we should be diligent of it. If they do turn against us, like I said, there is nothing we can do. Now, if this shadow government's trying to build a force to fight them, I don't think it's going to work. We're just too far behind them. And why? Why would they come here and attack us? What would be the reason? There'd be no reason. And I'm sure that if they're very, very advanced, they're advanced beings, advanced souls, they're not going to attack us. They're just watching us. Fact or fiction, it may be very hard to tell, but it is interesting to mention that there is abundant evidence which points to, at least partially, that society has not been told everything there is about UFOs, alien life, and extremely advanced technology. You think? The thing is that if such a secret space fleet was in fact reality, wouldn't we notice it? Wouldn't amateur astronomers have spotted by now evidence of a fleet's existence? Well, we have. Look at that huge craft they just saw. Thousands of people saw it above Phoenix. It could have been one of ours. What are the odds that if something like this exists, nobody on the planet has spotted it? Lots of people have spotted it. So that's basically the story. And the gist of it is they have to invent a new foe. We have no one to fear right now, so how can we justify spending trillions of dollars on our military when there's no foe, when there's no one to fight? The terrorist card's almost done, and ISIS has completely disappeared. Has anyone noticed that? They've made that up, and now it's gone. What's next? It's Space Force. It's aliens. We have to. Well, first it's going to be asteroids and meteorites, asteroids. We need to do something so we don't get hit by an asteroid. And there's been many movies. That'll be next. Then it'll be the aliens. And that's what's going to happen. That's how they're going to justify spending their trillions of dollars. So look it up yourself. You can check it out. Check out this ancient code website. It's amazing. There's a lot of cool things here. Archaeologists discover another buried sphinx at the Kamambo Temple near Aswan. So they found a new sphinx. That's pretty cool. Elon Musk smokes marijuana during interview. That's kind of old, but that's happened. Best video footage ever filmed of mysterious triangle UFO. It's a pretty cool website. I'll have to check this out. But that's what's going to happen next, people. One more time. The next threat is asteroids. The next one is aliens. And Space Force is going to get ramped up so we have something to fight the aliens with. And Wernher Von Braun told you this was going to happen way back in 1974. He knew it. So that's the end of the video. I hope everybody had fun. I hope you learned something. And we're going to fly on to the next video. So please subscribe. Please like the video. Please share it out there. And I'm going to sign off. God bless each and every one of you. And everybody take care.